Well, hello, everybody. My name is Morgan Huston, as you just saw. I am a historian and librarian here at Colorado Mesa University, so awesome. But also, more importantly for this particular moment, I am a former Air Force Special Warfare operator. So, well, thank you. For those of you who may not know, and we're pretty quiet about what we do, so it wouldn't be surprising if you're unfamiliar with us. Air Force Special Warfare is the ground combat forces of the United States Air Force. We are one of, if not the most decorated portion of the United States Air Force, if not by percentage of the United States military. We comprise 4 career fields: pararescue, combat control, special reconnaissance, and tactical air control party. The process to get into Air Force Special Warfare is exceedingly arduous. With selection rates of less than 20% at times, the young men and women who make up Air Force Special Warfare face some of the most difficult challenges just to be selected to enter the up to 2-year training pipeline. Now, what does this have to do with you? Well, before they can even enter the Air Force Special Warfare, get picked up to enter the pipeline, there's one thing that they all have to do and have the proper mindset. Mindset is probably the most important thing after physical fitness. Now, I'm not going to talk about physical fitness. Obviously, I'm not as fit as I used to be in my younger days. As you can all see up there, I was a lot thinner back then. But the biggest thing that we who support the young bucks who are trying to get into these career fields, we find that there's a couple of truisms, 5 of them specifically. First one, be a good dude. Second one, don't suck. The third one is eyes forward, be a good teammate. And finally, don't be weird. But that'll make more sense as I get to it. I know they seem simple, but really, there's a lot that goes into it. The first one, be a good dude. Now, dude, that encompasses everybody. Men, women, whatever. The big thing with be a good dude is it really what we like to fall back on are our Air Force core values when I'm talking to young people. The core values are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. Now, there is a reason that integrity is placed first, which we define as doing the right thing when nobody is looking. This is honestly probably the easiest out of all of these, because 99 times out of 100, when you go about your day, you're doing the right things. But when the things that cause so much problems for us to be a good dude is when you are forced to overcome something that feels uncomfortable. When we are comfortable in being uncomfortable, we can address the things that we see that are just overall wrong, things that could be morally, ethically, legally wrong, but we as people sometimes are afraid to confront those things, those people in positions of power. Being a good dude requires us to stand up, be counted, and to speak truth to power. Now next, thank you for that response. I was hoping you were going to get a chuckle. This is my good friend standing on a tank that we blew up in Iraq. It was a pretty cool day that day. But the biggest thing with don't suck, we all don't want to fail, right? It's probably the biggest thing that we as humans are just terrified of, other than being up here and speaking. Like, I know a ton of people are probably terrified of being up here. But failing is probably the next biggest thing. I'm not talking about failing. What I'm talking about is not even standing up to try. Don't suck means that when it comes time for you to do something that maybe you've never done before, maybe your organization has been tasked with something new that no one has even imagined that you can do as an organization, what we do to not suck is to stand up, throw caution to the wind, and press forward. When we can do that, then we no longer have to worry, because we as humans are gonna fail. I think that's the hardest thing for us to acknowledge too with that fear, is that we are going to fail. And we're going to fail many, 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 many times over the course of our lives. But that brings us to eyes forward. Now, as I was working on this more, I forgot to put something on the slide. There's a secondary thing tied to this where we as operators talk about is called failing fast. And we'll get to that in a minute. But when we're talking about eyes forward, what we're talking about is forgetting our past. But how am I supposed to learn from the past if I forget my past? Well, it's fairly simple. What it is that I'm not asking you to fully forget it. What I'm asking you to do is to not dwell on it. When we go and try something new, a lot of times, probably a ridiculous percentage of times, we're going to fail the first time, the second time, the third time. This is when we want to fail fast. When we as operators talk about failing fast, we look and we understand what it is that went wrong there. Then we evaluate what was our part in that failure. We take those lessons, we put it in, and then we go do it again. Amateurs go until they get it perfect. Professionals go until they can't get it wrong. If we don't learn from our past, we'll never succeed. But if we dwell on our mistakes, we also cannot succeed. This one, I think, is probably the hardest of the five. It's also the most important and where you can have the most impact. Being a good teammate in the Air Force Special Warfare side, it could be anything. Maybe we get done with a hard day, we screwed up at some point, our instructors have rolled us through the mud, we've been up to their neck in water, someone passed out underwater, something like that. Sometimes you need to help and clean up the team gear, put it away as a team. Maybe you see that person who's been struggling all day, you need to lift them up, give them the right motivation. That's kind of the easy part of being in. But what makes this so hard is that almost everything that we do on a daily basis is internally focused. We look out upon ourselves and we try and improve ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But here's where we can improve ourselves by improving others. We all, at some point, are going to work as a team. Now, when you look at a team, this is where you actually have a little bit of a chance to define that. Team, for an operator like myself, is a very intimate gathering. My teammates knew everything that was going on in my life, everything. But at the same time, that was kind of a forced together team. I didn't have a choice who was going to be my team. The only choice that we had was to get through the pipeline, get trained, and be together. But here, in these spaces that we operate, we have the opportunity to define our team. Maybe your team is your family and your friends. Awesome. Be a great, excellent, impactful person on that group of people. Maybe we can expand that to our friends, family, and now the organization that we work for. Then we can also there have great, impactful existence and share that with others. But I think that as we gather and grow as humans, we need to look outside of not just our friends, our families, our organizations. If we can encompass the entirety of us, of humans, right? This is where we can be. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable because there's so many things that can try and separate us. The story that I like to tell to encompass the humanity as a teammate, I'm riding back on the train in Denver. I'm in my undergraduate, and someone's sitting behind us. My friends and I are chatting. And all of a sudden, we watch as his head goes back. He hits one of the bars. Come to find out, the man is having an overdose. No one is there to take care of it. So you have to be a person of action because that person, that human, is my teammate. So I'm able to, do a little trauma casualty care that I've learned through my time in the service. That person survived. And I think that, in essence, is being a good teammate. Now, here's the one that I think is the hardest to explain, right? And what's funny is that there's some people in this picture right now that are being very, very weird because this is literally about 3 hours before we all jumped into Iraq in 2003. So terrified, being weird. We have no idea what's going to happen. But the thing is that, well, we're all weird, right? At some point, all of us are weird. Nerds, gamers, sports fans, that's a weird thing sometimes. But the thing is it's not that being weird is a problem. In fact, being weird is what makes us successful, right? It's our diversity of perspective by being weird that makes any organization wonderful. But what Don't Be Weird is about is that as we are a good teammate, as we are spending more and more time with people, we have a tendency to want to share, right? We're social creatures, humans. Right? But being weird is when you make others uncomfortable, right? We are all different. We all have different opinions. We all have different experiences. And at times, you get comfortable with your coworkers, your friends, and then all of a sudden you say that thing, I know I do. And they're like, ooh, ugh. So sometimes it's an accident, but there's times when you have to be aware of your surroundings, right? And when we are aware of our surroundings, as we are empathetic and we are understanding the people around us, the people that we have a chance to engage with and to have impactful existences with, this is when we want to not be weird. Now, I cannot guarantee success. Even if you were to implement all 5 of these things, can't guarantee success, right? No one can. The only person that even can have an impact on that is yourself, right? We have had plenty of people who are amazing physically, who are good dudes, good teammates, but for some reason they just don't seem to fit, and they just don't get picked up for our selection process, right? Less than 20% of people, right, make it through to one of these 4 career fields. But the thing is I think that if you were to overcome or to implement these 5, you're at least on your way, right? These are really internal things. There's nothing spectacular about it. It's funny, I'm telling my friends that I'm going to do this, and they're like, oh, you're going to be that Jocko guy, that Navy SEAL who's telling everyone, well, success for operators do this. Well, yeah, I kind of am. But at the same time, I take these attributes that I have gained through my time in the service, and now I'm a fairly successful person for some people. So it's just, but what it really comes down to is how you interact with the world around you. And the more and more time that we spend with each other, all 5 of these things will help you interact, successful, and all of that. Now, as you can see, I got some thank yous. Everything that I do here that I've talked about is not me. Some of it is me. I help mentor about 1,400 kids who are trying to be Air Force Special Warfare operators. But there's a team of us that do this. And all of my previous instructors, all of those guys out there who are doing this every day. But I do also want to shout out to the guys at One's Ready. If you guys, any of you are interested in the Air Force or Air Force Special Warfare, go listen to the One's Ready podcast. Aaron, Trent, and Peaches are all current active duty special operators who are doing the best to make sure that people who want to do these jobs can. And then there's a couple of guys out there. I actually don't know their names because they were all internet people. But the Gung Homies, as they call themselves, I wanted to give them a shout out. But with all of that said, all I want to end this with is, hoo-yah, never quit. Thank you.